Well, hello. Okay, before we begin, I have set up a little space on SourceForge to just store all the little programs that we are talking about here. So I've been working on the clock program, and if you go to this SourceForge site and you click on code, then you will see there is a little zip file inside a Git repository. So I will assume that you know how to use Git. Just Git clone and then this whole story here. And then from time to time you open your terminal in that repository and you say git pull, and you get the latest versions. Okay, let me just go quiet the dog quickly. Sorry about that. This very protective little Jack Russell who hears things. Okay, so let's talk about our clock program. You may remember that, let's see, examples, there we go. Right, and a terminal. Now, we talked about this last week. This is what it originally looked like. Now, suppose I say, oh, but I love this clock program. I want it on screen all the time. And I don't want the big, ugly yellow tab on top of it. Now, in Yab, we don't have access to replicants. But you can make one that looks pretty much like it was a replicant. So that's what we're going to be doing today. So what have I done here? Well, you see there are some new red lines and there are some blue lines. So the red lines are new. I've decided I want this little clock program, and I want it here in the bottom left corner, right up against the edge, without a tab on it. Okay, so the first thing I need to know is what resolution is this workspace at, which we do with this line here, peak desktop height. That will give us a number, which should be, let's see, right, 768. Now, for the x-axis, we don't have to worry about that because that I'm going to put at 0, right? But then the y-axis must be y minus 50, which will be around there. So I've got two new variables, y and y2. And here you can see that I printed them out at some stage. Why did I do that? Well, because I was working on this thing and it turned out I had these two, y and y2. I had them the wrong way around. And so my window would appear underneath the screen. And by printing them out, I could see what was going wrong. We don't have a formal debugger in Yab, but by printing out your variables, you can quite often figure out what's going wrong. So I left it in there, just to show you how we do that. That is the old basic programmer's trick. Right, so instead of Windows open 100 to 200 to 50, which is over here, I now say window open 0, right, along here, y2, which is there, to 100, so it should appear somewhere over there. Then I've taken out these lines because I'm not going to need them anymore. Right, technically I suppose I could have taken out that one. Doesn't matter. So instead I now set my windows to a certain look. And the look I chose is no border, which puts a featureless white rectangle on your screen. And I gave it the feel of a modal app. At one stage I had it as modal global, but then it just took over my entire screen and I couldn't get out of it. Even Control-Alt-Delete wouldn't work anymore, so be careful with that one. Right, and then we put the clock view on it. Just as before, no changes. So, that will now give us and there you go. So if you didn't know that wasn't a replicant, you would have said, oh, it's got a little clock replicant on a screen. But we now have another problem. What happens if I want to shut it down for whatever reason? Well, since I started this one from a terminal, I can just Control-C it away. But what if you don't start it from a terminal? Well, first of all, I put in a shortcut. Shortcut is on main view, the window itself. And it works with, well, this is supposed to work with the Control key. And the message that it sends is quit app. And so now, according to this, Control Q will shut it down. Unless you've changed your key map to be more like Windows and Linux, and then it will be Alt Q. In fact, on my system, which has a bit of a weird key map situation, I have not made that change, but it still works with Alt Q, not Control Q. Don't ask me why. So I put in the tool tip on clock view, Alt Q or Control Q to quit. So if the one doesn't work, the other one will. So the only other change is here in the main loop. I've now said if there's a message that contains quit app, then time to end the program. And that's all. That's the only change I've made. So now let's see if all that works. If I click on this, then the tooltip comes up, and there, it's gone. So I've now got a cute little thingy that looks like it could have been a replicant. Now let's put it in your auto start folder, and it'll always be there, and you can get rid of it. So it is not on, let's see, I'm gonna have to move myself here. There we go. It is not on all workspaces. Now you can put it on all your workspaces, but every workspace could have a different resolution. And so that is a problem that we will have a look at in the next version of the clock program. How to put it on all workspaces, even if they are using different resolutions. The other thing I still want to look at in the next version, it's sort of like a gray blob. But I'm using this standard wallpaper color. Could we make this just white text on that same color? Of course, that won't help you if you've got a sunset for your wallpaper. But how are we going to solve that problem? So, tune in again next week.